Hi, so this is my latest presentation. It's part of the What Inspires Me series that everyone at work does. Everyone chooses one thing that inspires them and talks about it during the Monday morning breakfast. So this is mine. Mine is actually about grime music and really was inspired by the book I read, This is Griiime. Grime music is England's equivalent to hip hop. And I loved reading the book because 10 years ago I was inspired by these rappers and musicians, and they were just kind of guys and kids in tracksuits making songs, and 10 years later they're gone on to be superstars, and the book details their journey. And when I was reading this book on holiday, I was reminded of when I was younger, being inspired to be creative and to be a designer, and my journey to being a designer kind of also I'm being inspired by what happens in their careers too. So the first I'm going to be talking about three people. The first is this guy. He grew up down the road in Bow, and he is a young Dizzy Rascal. Here he is winning a Mercury Prize at 17, and here he's gone on to have countless #1 hits and perform at the London Olympics in his hometown. And here he is looking very normal. And I wanted to share this video with you because it sets the tone of where these people come from. And when you see this big rapper guy, the fans know how they've started. And this should give you some insight into that.
I different shit at such a young age. I thank the Lord for blessing me with such a strong mother. I made her cry too many times, but I swear I love her. She used to find weapons in my room all the time. When she found the weed, I used to say it weren't mine. I skipped from school to school in doing so I caused her. Cause a day out of school was a day out of work. And a day with less pay, I made the stress pile on. But mumsy kept it real, she didn't even sign on. My dad died when I was 2 years old. I had to make myself a man. Naturally, I grew cold.
So yeah, that's not the side of the story you normally see, and I feel like people see who he is today but don't see what he's had to go through to get there. So the second guy is a guy called Wiley, and he is known as the godfather of grime. He is also known as the inventor of the genre, and here he is surrounded by all the hardware and speakers and production of a studio. What I want to share with you is basically Wiley. He releases lots and lots and lots of music, and I love that he releases these mixtapes called Tunnel Vision. And where you're a musician and you're signed to a record label and you have to make albums that go to hit the charts, outside of that, he's always working and always putting out music. And through his mixtapes, he releases music that he doesn't really charge for, and they can be unfinished tracks, unmastered. They could be tracks with other people doing most of the work, but he's basically just getting out what's on his computer and not holding on to everything and releasing his thoughts and his point of view beyond just waiting for the record label to release an album or for him to be signed. In an extreme way, once he was signed to a record label and they tried to make him push him in a direction, and then he emptied out his old computer and released 180 tracks for free, which one, blackballed him, but two, meant that he was so confident in his creativeness that he released these tracks and knew that he could create more, and it gave him a release where most people would probably stop after this. He just carried on, and just goes to show how prolific he is. So how this inspired me was when I was starting off, before I got my first junior job, I would, as well as my portfolio, have separately a Tumblr blog, where I'd scan in all my old artwork and things I'm doing outside of work that are design related, working with other designers, and just through blogs, through Instagram, showing the work that I'm that I'm doing and being a designer outside of just the client stuff. And just like how Wiley uses his mixtapes to share what he's thinking, that's what I believe in too. So the final guy is a guy called Skepta. Last year was his year, and he had loads of hits and travelled the world and like was a bit of a champion. But like everyone else, he started off from the bottom in North London, Tottenham. Here he is years later, looking like a superstar, looking like a rapper. He's got the gold chain, he's got the designer clothes. But what I loved about this book was this quote from his friend and other rapper called Chip. And the thing I like about it is he says, well, right now, Skepta's energy is, he's a beast, but it wasn't always this way. There's been times back when I was living in the US when he was done and he was fed up. And what you know of Skepta that he's done since, you'd be surprised to know that he would be fed up. But it's interesting when you see this photo and you see he was trying to gain acceptance from the Americans and trying to fit in with that style, but I can see that he was actually really fed up here trying to do it and not getting the respect that he deserved. So what he did after that, he began by releasing this video called Underdog Psychosis, where he spoke into the webcam with no editing or anything and just basically spoke about how he was feeling. I think he had a bit of a nervous breakdown and was telling the young people, basically telling the world about his upbringing and how the teachers used to make fun of his African surname and how the negativity that was brought to him made him feel that he was worthless, but in reality it's not, and he should break the cycle. That's his message for the kids. And this was even actually shown on the Tate Britain as an art installation. So after that, he released Blacklisted, an album with no track names. So you can imagine in the world with Spotify and YouTube, he really does not care about being seen or about like he just really threw out the rule book here. And after that, his kind of big hit was a song called That's Not Me, where he kind of went in the complete opposite direction that everyone else was doing and went back to his roots. I love the video. So the song is really about him dissing all the things that he used to do and throwing it all in the bin, like all the designer clothes and the old way of life, and embracing his roots. And so in the video, I love he's got the background of his estate he grew up in that all the fans know his original videos were from, and his freestyles. And the video only has him, his brother, and his DJ and the DJ equipment. So it's really like DIY and stripped back. And the video went on to win Best Video Award at the Mobile Awards, and he went on to tell everyone that the budget was only £80, that it only cost him £80 to make the video. So I thought that was like such a cool message for creative people and young people to think that you don't have to have a big budget to make an impact. And actually he had the money to do something different, but it was a choice to go in a complete 180 direction and made a difference and stood out from the crowd that was doing something else. And what I love is now he's had his success, he's bringing through his Nigerian roots that he always did, but like where he went to win the Mercury Prize, his mum's there on stage wearing her African dress, and where he's gone and collaborated with a big Canadian American rapper. He's done it on a Nigerian song with a Nigerian name. So his message of, you know, when he grew up, he didn't have the Nigerian. He wasn't made to think to be proud of his culture. He's like bringing it through for the younger kids who are coming from immigrant parents in Britain, basically. And so the final bit is about me, and here I am. This was my introduction presentation a few months ago, and people see me, this guy with the glasses and the big curly hair, and think, oh, I'm this designer and I've always known that I'm that. But in reality, this is me This is my photo. This is who I see myself as sometimes, and I'm like, this is my photo as a baby in Goa, coming on my mum's lap for my passport photo to come to London, basically. And when I came to London, I grew up in Wembley, and someone once asked me what inspired me to be a designer. And one of the first things I did was when I done a Photoshop tutorial, and my friend had shown me about all these grime MCs and crews in my area, and showed me their MySpaces with their graffiti and mixtape covers. So I went out and downloaded all the software and graffiti fonts and Photoshop brushes, and one summer made a whole bunch of artwork based on that. And so when I decided to become a designer as a profession, it was quite something I had to do on my own. This is my dad. He's a refrigeration engineer, so he fixes fridges, and this is what he does, using his hands and stuff. And where I've gone to be a designer, I've had to do this with not much advice, and had to kind of figure it out on my own. It's kind of something that I had to step out of what I knew to pursue this career. One of my first jobs was in Hayes in the London Motor Museum, and it looked really cool from the outside. It had all these cars and footballers, but behind the scenes it was really messy. It was very low paid, and there was no senior designers to learn from. So I really wanted to get into an agency, basically, and be a big designer. So in my journey to get to that point, we all have our ups and downs, and one of my points I had to get through was basically I had this eye condition called keratoconus, which made my eyes cone shaped from the age of 18 onwards. It was getting worse and worse so this was affecting my thoughts about how far I'm going with my design career and stuff like that. But then then this kind of climaxed to a point where it's called high drops, where the liquid from the back of your eye comes to the front of your eye, and you can't see, basically. And at this point it was a peak time, and I quit I found this kind of urgency made me really passionate about even just getting a taste of design. So I quit my job, and I became an intern at an agency, doing that with seeing out of one eye. And after my internship finished, I had my operation, which is a corneal graft, which means they stitch a new someone else's cornea onto mine, basically. But I stuck through it, and in the end landed a job at Iris Worldwide as a designer. And actually it happened to me twice. After I got my job, my other eye, the same thing happened. So it was a bit of a difficult journey to become a designer, basically. And now I'm working in Sapient, and I love when I get the chance to work with young people and show them that they can have the opportunity to use design or anything that they want to do to be creative and to get the sort of job that they think might be out of their reach. And yeah, that's my presentation, and I named it Self-Belief because from where I started to now, I listened to these rappers, and it's not just the music, it's their message and their story and their real life that I've been listening to times when I couldn't even use my eyes, that kind of kept me motivated and kept my self-belief to be where I am today. So thank you.